We on time, y'all.
See, these are the kind of bloopers we have.
Yes, and this
We're
happens
good.
when you're
We're
lying.
back. We're
Then you-
back.
Hi,
Facebook.
Facebook. So
Let us know if you can hear us,
please,
folks,
yeah.
because just in case because we can't hear if you're hearing us. So let us know. Thank you so much for.
Yeah,
Okay, we're
I
back.
tested it.
Okay,
I
great.
turned my volume.
Great. All right. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Thanks for sticking out with us because we know your time is precious.
Right.
Into the weekend recap.
Yes, Gary, could you come over to Instagram, please? Weekend recap time. Did you just say that? So focused. Saturday I hosted the Go Girls Conference. Shout out to the girls that were so dynamic.
Yes, I saw that.
Keisha, I never had an event for young girls like this before.
Really?
They were excited. At least 60 girls.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
That's
It was great.
girls in
Yeah, a
one
lot of
room. Oh,
the energy that they had.
I'm
My
sure.
God, it was dynamic. A shout out to Shirley Phillips. Keep on doing God's work.
That is beautiful.
Oh, and Tara Wallace from Love and Hip Hop, dynamic keynote speaker. Stay throughout the event to be
Really? Because they like to
dash
talk and
it.
dash.
Keisha,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe,
That's
and it was in
good.
the
She was
Bronx.
engaging too.
The
That's
Bronx
good.
needs more support. Honestly, these girls, they were just so enthusiastic to have people come and celebrate them. So go
I'm
girls!
happy to hear. Go girls. That's great. I love the
Keisha,
work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I love that what you said on my post. Thank you so much because
Of
I was
course.
tired and I want to hang out. I
Oh,
say
sorry.
I don't get to hang
I
out
was-
as much.
I was
Keisha, you
tired.
living your
So-
best life.
So Friday, we had 2 events back to back here at Level Up. I'm so blessed and so thankful.
Nice.
We had a book signing for Miss Nadine Brown.
Yes,
we had a birthday
congratulations.
party for Sharna Wilson. And then Saturday, I went out with Miss Nicole Dixon. Thank you so much for the invite. Love you.
I saw y'all on
And
the
then
IG.
Sunday, I went to my little cousin's New York honor band concert.
Nice, I saw that.
Yes, so I was celebrating everyone, and I enjoyed it immensely. So,
Yes.
let's get into this topic.
Hot topic.
Topic.
Before we get started today, we really need this the interaction because our guest is willing to answer questions, and we want to hear what you guys have to say. And Gary is monitoring IG. We're not forgetting
Ooh,
about
we're
you
getting
guys.
hearts.
Oh.
Yes, thanks, Jackie. I love you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Janelle, thank you so much for joining as well. So today we have Mr. Cami Roberts,
Yes.
who is from Kind Counseling,
Yes.
located in Brooklyn, New York. He is the founder and CEO of Kind Counseling, certified, and very certified therapist. So
Welcome to the show. Come on in.
Come on, this hot seat is reserved for you.
Come on in. And Gary, make sure we're all on screen. Good. Is he there?
Welcome.
All right.
I'm sure he's there.
No, because I don't.
If you're a little
yet.
behind, we're lagging. So,
All right.
So,
welcome, Mr. Roberts, to the
What's
show.
up? How you guys doing?
we are well.
we are
Thank you
doing
so much for
well.
being our guest. And as we close out Women's History Month with you, we want the men to see you on the show and to be able to identify because we're all about girl power
Yes,
here.
we are.
I see.
So it's good to have a guy here, and Gary he's here. Our associate producer Gary
Yes.
is here.
Thank
Carrie,
you.
we do miss you.
Come back.
Come back home soon. You hear?
Right?
So,
Yeah.
We
Keisha.
wanted to ask the first question, which is always for everyone.
Yes.
What is your why? Why did you start Kind Counseling?
Why did I start Kind Counseling?
Yes.
All right, so let me give you a little bit of background, right? So my passion for counseling, family counseling, marriage counseling, individual counseling, working with teenagers is that I actually came from a broken family, so I personally experienced the effects of when a family breaks up,
Okay.
you know, how it affects children. So I never planned to be a therapist. I wanted to be Ahmad Rashad, actually. I don't know if y'all know who that is.
Who is that?
Ahmad Rashad, he's like a sportscaster. You know,
Oh, okay, isn't he African? Tall?
no.
Oh, okay.
No, he's the guy that he was married to Felicia Rashad from the Cosby Show.
Oh, yes,
Right.
yes.
So I saw him propose to her on TV, and Felicia Rashad was like the hottest woman then.
She's so beautiful. Still.
Right. So I was like, I want to be that guy. All right. So I wanted to be a sportscaster, but the way things worked out, you know, divine providence, as they say, you know, and I got a job in the psychology department in college, and the rest was history.
Well,
Nice.
here we are now. Wow. Well,
Purpose.
well,
that was your purpose.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
servant leadership is big, you know, on the show. So
Yes.
we love that you're giving back, you know, professional pieces of you to be able to help those broken families, you know, whether it's children, parents, husband and wife, or to be husband and wife, whatever
Right.
area. So thank you for all that you do. Because
Sure.
just in case you don't know, Mr. Cami Roberts was my therapist, and I can always go back if I need it. But I'm perfect now. You know what I mean?
After tonight,
How
we'll
is
see.
she as a stop? I know
that's
HIPAA
HIPAA,
violation.
right.
Darn it.
Right, yeah.
Damn it.
Right.
Excuse my language. I want to know who the real Keisha is. And
Oh,
so-
it was ugly. I can tell you that. It was
It was
ugly.
ugly.
In
But
the
hey,
beginning.
but you're healed. You're here. You
Yes,
know,
healed
and-
in some areas.
All right.
Yeah, it's right.
See how he raised his eyebrows?
A day at a time. We always tell everyone a day at a time, you know.
Right.
And I'm glad that we have a man of color in this field.
Absolutely.
We need you to
Yes.
get more men, but we'll talk about
Yes.
we'll talk about that. But
Yes.
go ahead.
Well, I wanted to know, well, you know, our topic today
Right.
is why are so many of us single? And
Right.
when I say us, meaning why are we not getting married? I see a lot more baby showers than I see weddings.
Right.
You know, what's going on in our community? What do you see professionally,
As a
personally?
clinician, right.
All right. So, and this is, and I'm glad you asked that question because, like for example, I run a teenage boys group, right? So,
Okay.
so the age is 13 to 17, 18 sometimes, right? And the boys in the group the other day, I asked them, how come, who's going to teach you how to be a man?
Right.
And they said, my mother.
Oh my
Right,
God.
and they were ready to argue with me over this. Seriously. So I said to them, well,
Wow.
if you want to play basketball, would you go to a soccer player to learn how to play basketball, or
Right.
would you go to a basketball player?
Correct.
So to use the analogy, you need a man to teach you how to be a man.
Correct.
So my thought is, I will start with the younger men, so the next generation, will have, like some idea of what it means to be a
Absolutely.
responsible man, right? So that's a big part of the problem, where 50% of black males are growing up in homes without men. So who's teaching our men how to be men, right? You have women teaching men how to be men, okay? And that's not to knock women. I mean, it's not.
But it's
It's-
not
it's
the
more
role.
rampant.
That is
It's-
not,
that's not our place.
exactly.
Right.
It's not right. It's not our place.
Right. So you have, and then because men aren't in the homes as well too, girls aren't understanding how men operate. So you have a double problem there with girls not knowing anything about men and boys not knowing how to be men.
Amen.
So by the time they're into their 20s and their 30s, then it becomes a problem of like, well, what role am I supposed to be playing?
Right. Lost
Right?
souls. Lost roles,
Exactly.
lost souls. That's what I
Right.
say.
Right. So I have a lot of women that come into my practice to say, well, I don't understand anything about men, either their boyfriends, their husbands, or their sons.
Right.
Right? And a lot of men come in and it's usually their girlfriends or their mothers sending them in. Right. And they'll never say it, but they have no clue as to what a responsible man is, or, how he's supposed to carry himself.
Right.
So then people go out into the world and act this out, and then it becomes a big calamity, and you got a lot of hurt people. Go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you because Jada
Right.
Pinkett Smith said that if I'm hurt and you're hurt, we're gonna be hurt together.
Bingo.
And that was at the red table with her and Will. So I love that
Right.
you said that. We don't know what we're doing,
Right. Exactly.
and the cycle continues.
Right.
The cycle
So,
continues.
so I think one of the things is that also we have to also have realistic expectations about relationships, right? Realistic, meaning the other person is not supposed to make you happy.
That's okay.
All right?
True.
They're not supposed to meet all of your needs. That's not
True.
possible.
Correct.
What happened?
I just wanted to absorb that the other person's not supposed to make you happy.
Correct.
No, you're supposed
one's
to be
supposed
happy
to
with
make you
yourself.
happy.
Okay.
I mean, and then somebody else adds
Adds
to
to
that.
it. Adds
right.
value. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So,
adds
so
value.
if you're sitting there, and I have people come into my office all the time, and they think, well, if I meet the right person, my problems are going to be solved.
Correct.
And
I
that's
hear that all the time.
that's unrealistic for you to think that somebody else, like, they're going to live their life to make you happy,
Right.
which is not fair to them.
Right.
Right. So you gotta, and I say to people, because a lot of times people come into my office because they just came out of a broken relationship, and I say, you know what? You need to take at least 6 months to heal and also to learn. You see that? You see
Wait,
that
hold
response?
on. Wait a minute.
Right.
6 months
To heal.
At least, right? So check this out. So,
6 months.
because think about it. Because when you're in a relationship, let's say 2, 3, 4 years, you for women take on things, and men give off, and men give out a lot of energy, right? So for a woman, you're keeping, you have all of these things inside of you from that relationship.
Okay.
And I don't mean physically. I mean,
Yeah.
just emotionally,
Right.
that you have to let go of and get out of you.
You gotta wean it
Right,
out.
exactly.
We
So,
know.
so what people are doing is they get 2-3 year relationship, then 3 weeks later they're dating.
We lit.
Right, right. Oh, I found this new guy, right? Or a guy is like, well, dating the next week.
Is it a distraction that will allow you
Possibly.
to heal? Because that's what I hear. I need to get back out there right away, so
No.
I'm not home crying a river.
Well, you know
Well,
what?
you
But-
need to cry a river. I mean,
Right.
listen, I'm not gonna say I practiced that 6-month rule. No.
Okay.
No, at least
Not-
6.
At least no.
Right.
I've never done least no.
Hey!
But I do understand the reason why, because you carry that emotional baggage that you just left out of that relationship with. You're still hauling it,
Right.
and you haul it into the new relationship expecting it to work, and it will not. So I
Right.
get it.
All right, so
Do we do it? Do we practice it sometimes? No.
right, so when people say to me like, well, I'm getting into a new relationship, but they're comparing the other person to the old person, that's a sign that you're not ready for a relationship.
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Right.
it should be that you're giving that new person an opportunity to be themselves.
Correct.
Their
Right,
own
and not
platform.
right, and not you're not projecting things onto them from the other relationship.
Could we take 2-second pause because
Sure.
I see that people, Keisha,
People
are
are
talking.
okay, yes.
We want to get this interactive. Gary, can you just check IG? No one on
Well,
IG.
no,
oh,
from there. That's her phone?
no, that's him.
Okay.
Oh, so you can see IG. Oh, okay.
Wonderful story. I love to hear what you have to say. So that was regarding your why,
Right.
Rachel. Thanks, Rachel. Then Rachel agreed with you, saying this is true about men. There's no men raising the boys. She said, thank God for her father, God rest his soul, that he helped raise her boys to men. Chloe, I don't know what part you were saying facts to, so just elaborate. But a lot of people were agreeing, saying wow, and so I can't. I'm not really looking at the comments.
Oh, I
'cause I'm
see. So you're listening in.
Right,
Okay,
'cause
so
I'm
guys,
really
if
trying
you can
to
be more
be-
specific, so that way when Keisha looks down,
We
she
can
can
know-
say,
yeah.
we want you guys to talk about anything that he said thus far. The girls that don't have the dad, the guys that don't have the father, 6 months to heal. I'm trying to recap really quickly. And also he said more women in his office for help versus men. And if the men are there, it's a woman or the mom. Dragging them. But when they're there, and of course I know you want to respect, of course, your patient's confidentiality, but when the guys are in the seat, what are the questions that you ask? Because I'm curious, and I know some women are listening that are curious. How do you get them to open up? Are we more emotional than men? Or do you find that but guys can hide it better? Because there's some men that are crying and
I don't think they're men crying.
they are.
No,
crying.
they're taught not to cry.
I want to hear,
Well,
because
that's
there's some
true.
emotional men out there.
Right.
Can you
Well,
talk to us about them?
about the emotional
Yeah,
man?
because I think that they
All
keep
right.
everything in. We want to see them cry.
You want to
Why?
see them cry?
Because it makes me, honestly, not that I'm like boo hoo hoo, but
Right.
they're human. They got to be hard for whatever reason. It's okay for them to cry. Is that right?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, we have
Yeah.
emotions which are a part of who we are as human beings. So for you to not deal with your emotions, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? So, but I think everybody knows the story of if you see a 5-year-old boy and he starts to cry, the first thing is man up or stop
like
crying
that.
or whatever, right? So at a young age, boys are taught not to share their emotions or and that's something that we have to normalize for men, that it's okay for you to,
It's okay.
for you to be upset, or it's okay for, you to share your feelings. Now, a lot of times also for men, we don't share our feelings because also, it's a situation where you have to be able to trust the person who's hearing it. So if I share something with you personally, and then a week later you're throwing it in my face, then why would I want to keep sharing with you?
Right, that's true.
So there has to be a level of trust, number one, which can only be earned, right? And that takes time. And that's why I was saying I would say to people, do not jump into relationships quickly. It should take a while for you to get to know somebody, right? Think about the friends that you have in your life. You met them one night and they became your best friend?
No, it took time.
It took
Right,
time
exactly.
to build
So-
trust,
right.
respect, etc., yeah.
Right. So any relationship, and I always tell people that you have to see people in different arenas. You have to see them with their families, with their friends. You got to see them, in church, at the beach, at the DMV. You got to see them everywhere. Right? Because you don't really get to know somebody until you spend time with them.
Yeah.
So it can't just be, I met you 2 weeks ago and I'm thinking about getting involved with you seriously. That's ridiculous.
Right.
Because studies supposedly show that it takes you 6 to 8 months to really get to know somebody.
Right.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, because
Right.
because I don't know if that's little bit of time to get to know somebody, because you
Right.
could be somebody for 10 years and
And you still don't know them.
like,
They're a
Well, that's true.
stranger.
Well, that's
okay, we got something.
How do you know when you met the one?
Who's
How
this
do you-
person?
Strong BK.
Of course. Hello, Strong BK.
How do you know when you meet the one?
When you
Is
know
that what
you've
you-
met the one. It's a young man who's asking that question. Just
Okay.
look at all
Okay.
them.
So the,
You said a young man.
so the first thing is this: you got to have certain standards for you and values for your life before you even get into a relationship, right? So you're not figuring it out when after you meet somebody, right? So you, in your mind, you should know like, okay, I want somebody to be in a relationship with, whether it's a job, whether it's an education, whether it's A, B, C, D, whatever it is, whatever's important to you, right? So you don't try to make somebody conform to what you want.
Oh my gosh.
That person should come, not that they're perfect, but at least be moving in that direction to add to what you have in store for your life.
So I guess what you're saying is you need to have some type of list of what of things that you want that person to have. I mean,
Like I was speaking to my sister and my mom the other day about this, right? And the conversation came up. We just talked about just in terms of what a man should have before he even approaches you. So I said to her, I said to like my sister, that a guy has to have a vision for his life and a plan for his life before he even approaches you. Because, right, and that's what frustrates women a lot.
Yes.
It's
I
the
felt
sense-
like, okay,
Right,
yeah.
right. But the thing is, like we talked about earlier, women sometimes get impatient, right?
But how long do we have to wait?
How long you gotta wait?
Yes.
All right, hold on a second.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Wait a minute.
yes.
All right. So,
Good question, Jessica.
Well,
I'm tired.
all right. So hold on. Let me ask you a question, right? When you go to buy a pair of shoes,
Yes.
do you buy the first thing you see?
No, I try on a few, depending on
Right.
but everyone is different.
Oh, okay, when you go to buy an outfit, right? Don't you look for the best outfit?
Yes.
Correct.
Or you kind of say, well, you know what? That one's, it's all right. I'm gonna take that one.
Okay, no, in
it
that,
doesn't
okay.
fit your body
So-
type. It doesn't fit your
Right.
personality,
Right.
your color, whatever.
Right. So if with your heart, you got to guard that very carefully because your heart is very vulnerable.
But look, but I think what she's asking is why does it take them so long for come up with a plan, stick to
That's
the
what
plan,
I'm
and
saying.
have something?
Well, all right.
Especially
So
like
where
this
did we
guy
start?
said, you met the one.
Remember where we start? No, where we started. We started with your father got to teach you.
Okay,
right?
the father is not there. now.
Okay. Well, this is part of the problem.
And then I'm showing you all of this love, and you don't even understand the love because your father wasn't there. I'm gonna need you to understand my environment
Right.
and understand that this is a safe place for you to be great.
Okay, but you got to make a choice though. Am I willing to sacrifice all my time, my energy, and et cetera, to hopefully help some guy get himself together? Are you willing
No,
to
I
do
can't-
that?
No, I'm not
I can't do
hopefully
it.
helping
Like,
nobody.
me personally, I can't
No
do it
more.
anymore. I don't have any more in
Right.
me to do
Right.
because I've done it.
Right.
Because I believe
Done
in
it.
people before they see their great
Their potential
And I
and
think
greatness.
that's a special quality that you and me and Keisha have. So why can't you
No,
see it,
no,
sir?
no. It's not just you and Keisha. That's what women.
Most.
That's what
Oh,
women
okay.
are. Like
So-
women are very
We're the
good at
nurturer.
helping men to get to the level.
But we're
that-
the helpmates, though. Aren't we created to be the helpmates for
Exactly.
men?
Right.
Okay, wait, pause.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh my
1 second.
goodness.
So Chloe was mentioning that she was referring to waiting between relationships, was agreeing, and she does a year depending on the relationship.
Good for her.
Okay, great. Now, Jessica, I'm sorry, not Jessica, sorry. Rachel Jefferson said, yes, I had a friend who went through 2 divorces. A good man who got treated badly. We are close friends over 30 years. He did cry.
Wow.
Very brokenhearted. Okay, so let's see. Rachel said, yes, for us women who wait patiently, are our expectations too high?
I think like we talked about earlier, some people do have unrealistic expectations, right? And this is where understanding what your role is important, right? I mean, I have people in my office that, like women specifically, that they're expecting a man to come on not literally a white horse to save them. But I say, no, why don't you get your life together, be happy with that, and then find somebody who adds to that, right? You're not sitting waiting for somebody to save you.
But where is he though,
Where is
sir?
he? Okay, so let me ask you a question then. All right, so this is a big issue for black women now,
Yes,
right?
okay.
Are you open to men of other races? Big issue.
No.
To date or to marry? I think that's
Both.
two different things.
Both.
Bro,
If you're gonna date him, you might as well marry him.
No, I
But-
can just
but
be
why?
dating him just to go on a date. And
No,
we have women that
no.
do that. I will date
No.
a man outside my race just to date. Will I marry him? Perhaps.
but why would
Why?
you?
'Cause
Why
you-
would you invest so much time?
Yeah.
in that?
Because I want something to do, Mr. Roberts. I am.
Something to do? I can
Go
give you
to the
some
gym.
hobbies. You
No,
give me some
no,
hobbies.
I have enough of that stuff. Sometimes you just want to feel.
So you want to
It-
have
it-
a relationship, even though you're not going to
It
marry.
can even be a friendship. I mean,
Okay.
why can I be a friend with
No, we're not talking friends.
But,
we're talking
but I like to
single.
build a friendship first, and then I see where it goes. But
Okay.
I'm open to having a friendship with a man without outside my race. Other women's like Keisha may say no. But again, here's the flip side of it. Why are other men of not African American descent? Why are they ready? Because their father was there? No, some of their fathers are not there. Why are they ready versus the black man? Why does the black man have so many baggage?
It seems like they're
all
behind.
right. So,
Right,
so
exactly.
this is a systemic issue in the sense that we live in America, which historically has targeted black men,
Right.
right? Whether it's through prison, whether it's
Yes.
through, educational system, whether it's through unemployment, you could go down the list, right?
Right.
So you say, what's our history been in this country? Right, we came over here in a negative situation,
Right.
and it just continues to pile and pile and pile. If you look at men in other races, they weren't brought here like that. And I'm not trying to excuse it. What I'm saying is though, but it is a part of the equation.
Right.
So how can we? Okay.
So, would a friend make a better partner? So I'm getting someone you've been for like
Who is this from?
strong BK.
Oh.
You're asking if a friend would make a better partner? Absolutely. Friendship is a foundation for a good marriage.
But sometimes people don't
Absolutely.
see that.
Hmm?
Sometimes people who are friends, they may get together, have a few, they
Few
just don't see.
You should be very
I
specific.
can't right now.
You mean
I
hooking
can't-
up?
Yes, and then
And sometimes it happens like that.
but sometimes it doesn't. Even though the friendship is really good.
But they don't see them as a husband and wife. Okay, I see what you're saying, but I like that foundation. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, my wife is my best friend. Like she's a.
That's beautiful. No, she's
I'm
a
serious, man.
black
Get
love.
out of here.
Okay.
Black love.
Get your happy ass out of here. Hi, wife. Hi, Miss Roberts.
No, I'm saying.
I don't know if I like your husband right now. No, I'm joking.
But listen, I had to go through all the
It's
bad
so
things I'm
hard.
telling you guys to get to this though.
And I like that.
Right. So it's not like if I woke up one morning and was like, hey, I need a friend. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. And one of the things about my wife was that she's somebody who immediately I could talk to. Whereas with other women, I was kind of like, doing my thing.
Right,
What's up?
yeah.
So, but she was the first woman where I didn't feel as though I had to put on a show.
Oh,
or,
nice. You could
you know
be
what I
your
mean?
authentic
Exactly.
self.
Right. So, and that was very attractive to me. Like, I didn't feel pressured to,
Put on
Put on a
airs.
put on a
front.
show. Right.
I like that.
Whip
I
out
like
the
that.
most expensive this. But I get you.
Right, exactly.
I love these
understood.
questions that are
Oh,
coming
look,
in.
another one. And I have one.
Someone once told me looking for a man is like a job interview. What is your opinion?
I think that if you look at every other area of your life, right? Whether it's the apartment you live in,
Your
whether it's the
interview.
job you have,
Your interview.
this is a huge
That's
part
how
of
I
your
feel
life. You
about
can't just accept the first thing that comes.
Okay,
And I'm not
but-
saying you do, but I'm saying.
And whoever said that question, I feel the same way. I don't want it to feel like a job interview. Is there any other way? I don't want to get dressed
everything
up,
you do,
Keisha. I just
but
wanna
it
have-
don't. I don't think the person. You have to
It is
ask
an
questions. and
interview, man.
Don't you have to know that person, their thought? What if that person's a serial killer? One thing he said, you immediately light bulb goes off. Do you want to like?
But this
Hello?
is why I like that whole friendship thing.
Right.
Why can't it just be a friend?
What do you mean by
What do you-
why can't it be?
Like you said, build a friendship, right?
and
where
then
it's
get right
not-
into a
Yeah,
relationship.
where it's not
Right,
the thing and the thing, man.
All right, but when
I'm tired.
you're forming a friendship with somebody, you don't say, "Let me form a friendship." It's something that comes naturally.
Right,
something that comes
naturally. I guess
right.
that's what it. I just
Right,
want
so-
a natural, organic thing.
Exactly right. I mean, and I'm talking ideally, obviously. I'm not saying every situation is going to be like that.
Right.
But if you meet somebody, it's just like, for example, if you meet somebody on your job, you just don't start going to lunch with them. You kind of let's
You
see how
feel
they
them
act.
Feel them out.
You
Right.
do.
But I'm
Let's
not going to
see-
Q&A them.
But my
what's
point
your
is, like, in
style?
any relationship, you got to determine, is this person worth going further with in terms of being intimate, not just physically, but emotionally.
Mentally, emotionally.
Right, right, exactly. Because
So, I'm
not
sorry.
all your coworkers you go to lunch with.
Correct.
Right,
I
and why
sit
is
by
that?
myself.
No, why is that?
Because I like to have my own time.
No,
I'm
but-
ready with them.
Okay, but I meant more in terms of you meet people and they may ask you to go to lunch, and you may say, "I'm not going to lunch with that person because they act crazy."
Right. I don't know them. I don't trust them.
Or they just act weird. So, right. So, similarly, as you get to know people like you out at a lounge or wherever you might be, a family gathering, whatever it is, you meet that person, you take your time and see, get to know them. There's no, girl, I met somebody, I think he's the one. No, take your time and get to meet
No,
know that
ladies,
person.
stop it. Keisha.
Rachel says, what if I have a house and a car and financially stable and
Yeah.
a woman of her age? Should he be at her level in life?
Well, first of all, every person has to know, like I said, what is your value system? Because there's some women that can say, you know what, I just need to make sure the guy is working and that he can
Right.
that he can help me with the situation that I'm in. For some women, the guy has to make more. I'm not sure why that's that way, but you got to ask ladies why.
We
is it
know
that?
why. Hello, we want
Right.
to be taken care of.
Yeah,
Okay, but when you get married, though, that's supposed to be everything becomes one.
True.
Right, so there's no longer. That's not. I don't believe in his money, her
So you,
money,
when
all
you
that
just
kind
took
of
it
stuff.
out, so
No,
you
I
don't,
don't.
you don't have a little secret account?
No, are you kidding? No. Listen.
The woman might have a
Yeah, I
listen,
bet she
I can only
does.
speak for myself. I can only
So you
speak
don't
for
have
myself.
no little secret fund
Stash.
for Cammy
just in case.
to pop a bottle?
No, at this point, I mean, listen.
How long have you been
I've been married
Yeah.
22 years.
Oh, come on.
Right. So
You don't
I'm.
count.
I don't count.
Because you guys are so probably one
Of
unit.
course they are.
But wait a minute. But it took
That's just supposed
22
to be.
years to get to this point. It didn't take two days or 2
Right.
months.
It took a while.
That's amazing.
Right? Listen, my marriage struggled a lot the first 5 years, right? I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, it was perfect from day
Right.
one.
Thank you for
Right?
that.
And a lot of that was also because I was finding myself as a man, right? I there's certain things I didn't understand. So, and guess who suffered as a result of it? My wife,
Yeah.
right? But as I learned, as I read books, as I listened to sermons, as I spoke to people, I observed people, then I'm like, oh, okay, all right, so I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that, and then my wife can now relax and she doesn't have to,
Stress anymore.
Exactly, right.
Do you have, Keisha, you have something?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Barbara says hi. Hey, Barbara.
Hi, Barbara.
Relationships are just chance. It's like a lotto.
Lotto?
Who said that?
Wow.
Barbara said that.
Oh, I thought you were just saying hi. It's a chance.
Yeah. So,
That's
what's your
deep.
feedback on that?
No, you make choices when it comes to relationships. It's
Yeah.
not like it's not
Pick
an
a
accident.
name out the
Right.
hat.
You make deliberate choices every relationship that you're in.
Right.
Right. It's not by chance.
Relationships are hard.
Oh,
It gets
very.
harder
It gets
now.
harder when you get older.
Why do you think? Yeah, and me, a woman of a certain age, 42, I have now been engaged twice.
Mm.
Wow.
Okay, why you gotta do that?
But to me,
No,
but I think to me, I'm like, you know what? That's a blessing because somebody can't even get engaged once, Keisha.
Yeah, but we never made it down the aisle. It's
But
kind of
still,
disappointing.
I don't
so
think
let me ask
so.
you though.
I don't
So
think so.
as a woman,
Yeah,
I don't think so.
like you said, being engaged twice and not being married.
right.
What does that mean?
Means like failed relationships.
Okay, so you're taking all the responsibility for
No,
that?
absolutely not. No,
Oh, okay.
I'm not regretting it either.
Okay.
I'm
all
just saying, like, oh my gosh, okay, the last one, which you know of, we came from a 4-year relationship, ups and downs, and
Right.
then when I thought he was ready, he really wasn't. Why do men do that? What is the point?
Okay, so and like I said, and I'm gonna get personal here. Like when before me and my wife got involved, she said to me, "Listen, if you're not serious about getting married, I don't want to date you."
Yeah, but we say
No,
that.
hold on a
but-
second. But what I'm saying to you is that so you have to be able to say, you know what, I'm okay being single rather than being put through foolishness. You have to be able to say that.
But what if you've been saying that for so long, sir?
Okay.
And then it's just like,
You said, sir.
well, now you got me like.
So wait a minute. So hold on a second. So what you're saying then is that if you're not married, then something is wrong with you?
Sometimes we feel that
Perhaps.
way.
You
Sometimes we
feel that way, but
way.
that's actually not true.
What is wrong with me? Like she said, okay, 2 engagements. You had this, did that. What is wrong with me? You start looking at
We're
things.
ambitious young women.
What is the
we're
problem,
educated.
bro?
Like where are the men?
Sir to bro.
Sir,
I know.
what is
It's
where is
annoying.
the magic one that can be like, okay, it just don't feel right.
Right, it
don't,
doesn't feel
It
right.
does not. Jamil Williams, thank you
Anybody,
for joining.
Gary?
Oh wait, Barbara said no. First, Jamil said not true about the relationships are just chance. It's like the latter.
Oh, yeah.
Jamil, I'm sure that's what Jamil was. Okay, so Barbara said it's just society. Now that's causing all strains in relationships. Women are becoming independent and making more than men. Okay, thanks for joining, Odetta. Okay.
Hi.
Jamil says that's the problem. People give up in relationships instead. I think you meant in relationships instead of hacking through the downs.
That's
and
definitely true.
That's next week too. Yeah, next
That's
week.
definitely
Yeah.
true. I can say something.
Rachel said absolutely. Even at age 50, Keisha, we will wait.
What?
Chloe says people look at you like you're a disease, meaning not married, being of a certain age.
Something's wrong with you,
successful.
right.
Something
But
is
it's not
wrong
true.
with
Something's
you.
wrong with you,
But that's not
especially
true.
when you don't have a child. Because I think in
Or
our culture,
married or-
I said
Jamaican families,
Yeah.
they'll say, "Oh, we're wrong with her. Why she can't breathe?"
But you see,
It's not that I don't want to.
All right, so you got to ask yourself then, right? Where's that pressure coming from?
Society,
Okay, so who's going to determine your life, society or you?
myself. But what if I do want to have that
But
child
you
and I
still
don't?
feel pressured.
Right.
Okay, all right, I understand that.
I don't know what else, what really else to say. Like Keisha said, we have the things on paper, but yet I may go date outside my race just because I don't want to be home anymore.
So what's
You know-
what's important to you? That you have a black man or a man that treats you well?
That's deep.
No, I'm
I
saying
wasn't
which is more
prepared for that.
important. No, it's okay.
A man that
All right.
treats me
A
well.
man that treats me well.
However,
Alright, okay.
my desire for another race is null and void.
Oh, okay, so do you?
I've been there and done that. And
Oh, you have.
But
Okay.
Okay.
I don't have any desire.
You have the desire to go back.
All right, so then then you're limiting yourself obviously, and you know that. No, I'm saying because
Limited, but look how
are-
much
No,
men
no.
out there single, walking, free,
no,
disengaged.
when I go ahead.
But like he said, what are your expectations for them, Keisha? They're walking past, but they didn't catch your eye because there's something about them that you don't want. You don't want the ones that's just walking around Merrick Boulevard. They're lost. Gary, you look like you wanted to say something.
Strong BK asked, how do you feel about couples living apart or having some space for a certain amount of period?
What you mean
Couples?
couples? You mean
Meaning
married
married?
couples?
Married, yeah.
You must be mad.
Well, okay,
Wait.
so I do believe that people should have independence, but living apart is a whole different conversation.
Wait, married
That's
couples
drama. That's
living
trouble.
apart? Maybe he needs to be a little bit more specific.
You meant married couples?
Oh,
Yeah.
married couples living apart.
Well,
Yeah, need space when you need it.
Getting space.
Oh, I think what he means is okay. You know how because some men, like I told you, they think
have
we're
a
gonna
secret
snip.
apartment.
They think we're gonna snip away their independence, so they don't want to marry us because we're gonna smother them. What about your own room in the house? I think that's what he means, or your
A
own
man
little
cave?
yeah.
Man, not man cave.
Yeah, is that okay?
But he said living apart. He never said anything about.
right.
I don't know.
No, not co-signing that.
Like he has.
That's trouble.
What if you like your own little apartment?
No.
No, well, his own apartment.
Exactly. Living apart.
But you see, but this is what I'm saying. These are the type of things that you got to know before you sign up for a marriage.
But sometimes the
what's-
men don't speak it, or the women
They're
don't speak.
afraid. They're afraid to. Like,
All right,
for
so y'all
instance-
believe in premarital counseling?
I do.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I mean, because
It's
and,
very
and I always
important.
say to people, before you get engaged, go to counseling.
Before.
Before you get engaged.
Yes,
And then
because the
after.
thing is, you do not want to get engaged and then go find out this is the wrong person.
So, premarital counseling, is that something that
It
we
should
have
be
to
like
pay for?
premarital counseling.
Is that something that we have to pay for cash? Because that may be reasons why people
well,
don't do it.
Maybe people
wouldn't
don't know about it.
You wouldn't
Yeah.
want to spend $500 to make sure that you're marrying the right person.
So instead of spending 10,000 on a wedding,
I mean, I
20,000.
think it's worth it. I mean, to me, but I mean,
How many sessions do you think
Right.
pre-marital counseling?
well, I mean, I think what I do is I isolate specific things so you know exactly where people are, right? And if both parties aren't happy, they should not get married. Okay? If I make it so that you see the red flags and I point them out to you, and then you make the choice as to whether you want to go ahead with this or not.
Okay.
All right? So then you can't say it was somebody else's fault, or he duped me, or she duped me, or whatever. I made a choice knowingly that this was part of the relationship, and I still got involved with it.
How many sessions do you get?
For premarital?
Yeah.
Pre.
It really depends on the situation. Some people can come in and do 3 or 4 sessions, and because they have a stable relationship, they know how to
Okay.
communicate. And then other people, they take 15 sessions.
And this
It
is not to
depends.
say we're gonna get married tomorrow. We're just trying to get to know put our problems out there or our concerns.
Right. So meaning like we're thinking about taking it to the next level.
Okay.
So let's make sure that we
I
got
like
our
that.
ducks
Okay.
all lined up.
I like that
That's
idea.
more what I'm saying. Right.
Rachel says that's more like family pressure to get pregnant. She
Yeah.
was
Oh,
agreeing
okay.
with you. Barbara says in past experience that people go through determine their mindset. I've been there and done that. Good, bad, and ugly. I know what I want. Glad I find the one now and pray it lasts. So she's in a beautiful relationship.
Oh,
so
congratulations, Barbara.
Right.
I would like to host your wedding.
Now, all right. There you go.
Rachel Jefferson says separate vacations are healthy, aren't they? She's asking actually.
Oh,
Well, listen, as long as you're going with
married people?
You said separate vacations? I mean, if you're going with your girlfriends, I don't see that there's a problem with that.
But what if you're married?
I
It's
mean,
still
okay
well,
with
well,
your
oh, that's what
girlfriends.
you mean.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, we're not talking like once a month, right? We're talking what? Occasionally?
Right. Like a girl's trip.
I mean, I think you
Boys
still have
do.
to maintain your independence even when you're married.
Yeah,
I mean, but you don't take it to an extreme, though.
And get your own apartment.
Exactly.
Okay.
There you go.
Barbara says counseling is good. Chloe says great information.
Right.
Rachel agrees that the sessions are very necessary. Barbara says you may host it for true. The wedding.
Yes.
All right, you're getting business.
But
out
we
here.
do want to hear from some guys. We have Sean BK from
Thank you, Sean
Instagram.
BK.
Thank you so much for your questions. Any guys
Where
on
are the men?
Facebook?
Where's Dijon Reed? Where's
Dijon,
all
where you
the
at
men?
though? But I had a question for you too. Oh, about the people that come into your office, right? And you said a lot of the times, I'm going back to the guy that doesn't want to be there.
Right.
How do you get him again to open up? Because I think a lot of them, they're there, like you said, reasons unbeknownst to themselves. How do you get them to be like, you know what? This is my issue, da da da. And how do you go from there as a black man counseling them?
Okay, that's a good question.
Thank
so,
you.
so, I mean, just in terms of knowing how to engage people, I mean, you know, it's a technique is called like joining. For example, like that would be if somebody doesn't want to be in my office, I could say, man, you're right. I wouldn't want to be here either, right? She's probably giving you a hard time, right? So he's like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? So by the end of the session, he's like, yeah, I like this, man. I like this, you know.
I like that.
So yeah, I try to be transparent when I need to be with men specifically, because men need that encouragement to be in counseling, because they see it as I'm not being a good man or a good husband or a good boyfriend. That's why I'm here, right? So I look at it more as, all right, man, we want you to be the best brother you could be, so you can take care of your woman, your kids, and
Right.
all that stuff.
Right.
You know, so you can have a prosperous life and all that. What man is gonna turn that down?
I like
Right.
that.
So I got you. So the thing is, you have to not sell it, but you have to word it in a way where they can see it as beneficial to their life.
Absolutely, I like that because I feel if I was a guy, I would be like, yeah, bro. Like, you know, I like that technique that you said. And you know, how do we promote more mental health help with African American men? If you can speak to somebody right now, like, what would you sell? What are your points to get them in the office? Because a lot of them need to
There's
hear
a lot of
you
hurt people
a
walking
lot, and then
around.
they hurt us because, like you said, they don't know how to heal.
Right.
Could you speak to them, like say, you know, I don't know what to tell you to say, but
Sure,
they
sure,
need
sure.
you, man.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is this, right? And I say this to men a lot. What kind of man do you want to be? Do you want to be a guy who's frustrating his family, a guy who is not being a good father, a guy who is doing, you know, stuff that later on you're ashamed of or you feel guilty about? Or you want to be a guy who people can celebrate and say, yeah, he's really taking care of his family, or he's really, you know, doing the right thing. So if you see that you're not going down the right path, right, meaning emotionally, it could be financially, spiritually,
Wow.
whichever way, you know when things aren't right.
Correct.
You know when you're not satisfied with yourself. So are you going to keep doing the same thing for another 10 years, another 5 years? Or are you going to say, you know what, I'm not sure what to do. Let me go talk to somebody who knows, who can help me, or who knows what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
So, and that means you got to humble yourself and say, you know what, I need some help. Okay? But you know what? All of us need help.
We all
right?
need
I need help
Yeah,
too.
we all need
Okay,
help.
We all
so
do, yeah.
you know, so there's nothing wrong with asking for help, and that's
Right.
something that men struggle with,
I don't know why.
right? So, and it doesn't make you less of a man because you go ask for help.
Exactly, like you always say, man. Like Keisha always says, level up or whatever, and they always say, man up. But then you're not doing what you're saying. You're saying to your bro, man up, but you man up too and go get the help.
Right. Well, part of being a mature person is you got to take responsibility for what you do. So it's like, yeah, I'm messing up. Let me see how I'm going to fix this situation. Let me go talk to somebody, or let me get some information or something, so that I can be a better husband or better whatever.
Right, better partner.
Right.
Jamil says,
Yeah.
nowadays, a lot of women are more stable than men.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not into helping a man grow to
Mm-hmm.
help them as a couple. Why do you think that
Is
is?
this a guy talking?
Yes.
Here we go.
So he's saying that women are not willing to help a man. Is that what he's saying?
Yes. Nowadays,
Nowadays.
because we're so much more stable. But we're such nurturers.
Jamil, that's what I'm
We're
saying.
chipping in to help a man in a heartbeat.
In a
You know what I mean? 'Cause we
heartbeat.
see-
Right. So I mean, and I think as women, you guys can answer this in the sense of that if you see that a guy has a plan, but he's having some trouble getting it on executing it, then you can say at least he has a plan. He knows where he's going. I can work with him, as opposed to a guy who is just kind of going, paycheck to paycheck,
Right.
not no vision, nothing. Those guys you got to stay away from because they will hurt you. I mean, I'm not disrespecting guys by saying that.
Right,
But
but
when
it's-
men don't have purpose in their life, they're very frustrated, depressed, anxious, whatever words you want to use to describe it.
Ooh,
Right.
You are talking to somebody right now.
Well, amen.
I will
Alright.
follow up with a hallelujah.
Right.
Hallelujah.
Right.
Because
Rachel,
no, it's so true.
Rachel has
You got a question?
Okay.
For you,
Yeah.
Gary has a question.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
just saying, so do you feel like females are more fixated on like one type of guys that they would keep getting hurt over and over again and like go outside their box? Like,
That's a great question, right? Because the thing is, ultimately, the man that women are used to is the father, right? Because you're assuming that if the father's in your house, that's what you think men are like. Because you 24/7 you're with this guy, right? You learn how men operate, you learn what kind of attitudes they have, how they deal with money, how they deal with problems, all that kind of stuff. Because you're looking at this man every day, right? So that man is familiar to you, right? So you're gonna go outside and say, "This is what men are like, the same one that I'm used to." Okay, so this is why you keep attracting the same kind of guy, because he's familiar to you. Right? So, but the thing is that if you're not aware of it or conscious of it, you're going to keep making the same mistake. And that's one of the things that counseling can help you with, is to realize that, you know what, that every man doesn't have to fit that box that you have.
Wow. I like that
You like
question.
it?
Yes.
Okay, you ready?
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you,
Question:
Gary.
Could you be in love with two people?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe so. Why?
No. Well, from a spiritual perspective, right?
Yes.
Right? I mean, well, if you think about it, right? You might love certain things about both people, but for you to commit your heart to two people, I mean, that's not possible.
It's not possible.
No, your heart's not built that way.
So your heart is only for one person?
Well,
At a
let's
time?
listen, you can convince yourself that you can be involved with two people. I mean, you can convince yourself of a lot of things,
That's a good question.
right?
Because I hear that. I'm in love with. I'm in love.
No, that's lust, darling. That's
I'm
not
in love
love.
with two
That's
people.
lust. That's not love.
So you think genuinely
So
the human
define
race,
lust
yeah,
versus
so
love.
Lust is basically I'm getting my needs met. Love is I'm sacrificing for somebody else. And there's no way you can tell me that somebody's going to be happy with you being with another person. That's
You
not.
heard that?
That's not love.
Wow.
Somebody.
That makes sense.
So, because I hear men say, I'm in love with two women.
That's not love.
That's
That's I'm getting
No,
my
but
needs
and
met.
that's the thing.
That's I'm getting my
That-
needs
that-
met.
It's
okay.
so sick.
Rachel says I've been told many times to see a therapist, but she doesn't know the first step.
The first step, well, most people going on Google now. in terms of looking for a certain kind of therapy.
First step is to call Mr. Cammy Roberts
All right.
at 718-421-4400.
Thank you.
We'll
First step.
definitely put his information, but like he said, psychology.com, I mentioned to him, like that,
Right, Psychology
you can
Today.
get a slew of people
Right.
by gender, by race, and,
Right.
and so
Insurance, all
forth.
that
Insurance, so
stuff.
yes.
Right.
So
And
she
they
can
should
call
help.
him too, Keisha, but
Right.
that website is pretty bomb, and it's a free
Right.
website. I like, I always refer people to it, my patients, and they say they can pick whoever they want on
Right.
there.
The-
And you're on there.
Yes, I would say the other thing is also that even if you don't come to me, I have in terms of my information is kindcounseling.com. If you have a question, we'd be more than willing to help you or refer you to somebody that says closer to you or
There
you
you
know
go,
a
see?
preference. Yeah. So listen, people have needs. So and it's not like there's a shortage of people with problems.
Oh, God,
So-
there's so many of
You
us
hear that?
walking around with
Right.
issues.
Not a shortage. Everyone is walking around with some kind of deep, twisted hurt from way
Hurt.
back when they haven't resolved.
And you project it on
Sometimes you read comments on social media and you're like, who hurt you?
Yeah.
To
Right.
be this
Who
vile.
hurt you and who raised you? I always say, who raised you, bro?
Right. No, you're right.
Oh
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
gosh,
And,
we have
um,
definitely gone over.
We
our
gone over
30
it
minutes.
and we knew we
knew
had an
would,
idea.
'cause This is really good.
Last question.
Yes, Rachel, we will put it here for you.
Rachel, thank you so much
Absolutely.
for being so transparent to know that, this is what the show is about,
Right.
Cammie. And I told you when you walked in, great things happen here in the Motivation Monday show, resources to the table, and we hope that you can offer your services
Sure.
to some folks. And you said you do take insurance, right?
Yes, we take about
Gary,
12
can you put his
insurance.
information on there for us?
Please, thank
Please,
you.
thank you.
Right.
And
I have a question.
There's so much more to ask.
Yeah, there is so much.
are you willing to come back at another time if
To do
Keisha?
part
If we
two?
have a part
Sure,
two.
sure.
Wonderful. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect.
Well,
Give up your independence because you get married.
exactly.
Now, you do have to sacrifice, number one, to be in a
Right.
healthy relationship.
Right.
And then when you have children, that adds even more sacrifice you got to give, right?
Correct.
So it's easy for people to get lost when they have children and a spouse, men and women, right? I mean, I'm a father. Listen, there are times when I want to go a whole lot of places, but I got 2 kids at home, so what am I going to do? Right?
Right,
So if I'm going to be a
responsibility.
responsible father,
Right.
I got to give up some of my life, right? But thank God my kids are getting older.
See, that hurts.
What hurts?
You saying that you have to go home to your kids, and I still want to be Jessica, the individual.
But you can be.
How can I when I have to go home?
But you got to
You get
set
a
aside
nanny.
time. Right, you can set aside time and say maybe every 2
I
weeks
just
I'm
don't
going
want
to
to
do
lose
this.
myself, and I think that's what a lot of people are fearful of. The cult,
I'm not losing myself
But,
when I get
but like I
married.
said, this is something that you got to
You have to
discuss.
discuss it.
Counseling.
And you don't need to have to come counseling, but just communicate about that, right? And
Yeah.
assume that the person is being genuine. Not assume, but
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
all right.
Gary's
He's like,
Yes,
I'm
wrap it
over
up.
this.
Right,
This is
right.
too much.
But
We
yeah.
definitely have to do a part
This
two.
Yes,
is
no
I
problem.
love this.
Wow, mind blown. Is my wig still straight?
No, the wig is straight,
Okay,
and I
thank
didn't beat
you.
you up too much.
no, this is
Okay,
great.
okay,
This is great. I love these
Oh my
conversations.
gosh,
Yes,
wow.
thank you so much
Thank
for being
you
on
so
our
much
show.
for
Yes,
being
thank you
here.
for having me.
Absolutely. Nicole Dixon, thank you so much
Nicole,
for
thank
reminding
you.
me
Yes.
of
All right.
fine counseling.
Yes,
Yes.
networking, this is key. Guys, we hope you enjoyed today's show. Keisha, I know you have your quote, so
I
I'll let
do.
you have time to get to that.
Yes.
Gary's putting his information on the broadcast right now. If you guys would like to continue this conversation, let us know. We can definitely invite him back. And please share this video. A lot of information, a lot of great information was shared with us tonight. Please, we want to see like 50 shares, honestly, where the show is worth it. You guys are worth it, and we'll wait for Keisha to, get the quote. Oh, your Instagram, how do they follow
At
you?
Kind Counseling.
Yeah,
The
I'm
same
at,
thing?
Right.
At Kind Counseling.
Everything kind counseling.
Yes.
Everything.
Everything.
How did you come up with that name?
I like it.
Actually, kind is an acronym. So it's my name, my 2 kids, and my wife.
Ah!
Right,
That
I
is
love it.
awesome.
right,
Yes.
right.
So are they going to take over the practice when you retire?
I'm working on my daughter. My son needs a video guy. My daughter, I'm working on her.
Good,
Excellent.
very good to hear. All right, so this quote, thanks Joyce for posting it, is by W. Clement Stone. What is this word? Definite.
Look, with glosses. This is Sadia, our intern. So,
Oh,
yeah, definiteness.
Definite.
It sounds
Definiteness. What?
right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tongue twister.
Wow,
Definiteness
that's a word.
Yeah. Is this a word?
I guess so.
of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. Look here, please.
Definitely.
Definite.
I learned something tonight.
Yeah. Can we Google this really
I
quick?
need somebody to Google this for me.
Definiteness.
And give me the pronunciation.
Definitely.
Are we not saying it
Definiteness.
right?
Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement.
So
Wow. So tonight was awesome. Thank you again.
These ladies are great.
thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
We appreciate you for coming, and thank you everyone for
For
watching,
watching.
tuning in. See y'all next week.
Yes.
Where we're going to talk about more hot
Topics.
topics.
So bye guys.
All right.